Hey everyone, it's Curtis with KTF, and today we're going to be going over the tournament recap from June 2nd to the 8th, as well as talking about upcoming events. We are going to be discussing 11 tournaments in the recap, and so at this time, if you want to jump to the chapters right now, you can do that if you want to talk about, look at a specific event. And we've also put it in this calendar mode to show what tournaments are happening what day based on the iconography that they used for the tournament. So I think this is going to help a little bit more with the visualization of when a tournament is happening. Started off with just Monday through Sunday, but looking at it more, I may start the week on Sunday because that's how I do everything else in my personal kind of agenda. But that gives you a better kind of graphic, I feel, overall. So the first thing that happened was ICFC had an exhibition match in which it was East Coast versus West Coast. It pulled in a huge audience, and there were some really good games and a lot of drama that were happening behind the scenes, which this channel isn't about the drama. But if you're looking for some really good matches, that was it. And of course, this was essentially an invitational only, and the top 5 kind of players on the West Coast team each scored 200 bucks, so that's an incredibly good payoff. And if you can always go back on Level Up Your Game and check all that action, and then go on Twitter and follow kind of, I think there's a huge thread of the different players, East Coast and West Coast, responding to different things related to the tournament, if you're into that sort of thing. Then we also had Digital Havoc. This is an ongoing league. They still haven't updated any information of what the final league kind of payout or anything is going to be, or any adjustment to how the finals or the championships are going to happen. They still pulled in a high amount of numbers, which is really good, but the total amount of Matcherino that they were able to raise was extremely small. So unfortunately, this kind of puts it in the lower tier of kind of that entry to payout ratio. However, we still see a lot of very well-known names: Alpha, Mac, Be Rich, and Yoj99, as well as Enrec and Donnell, are continually accumulating points. Once we get closer to the finals, I'll talk about the individual leader points, but if you're looking to get into a league-based tournament that's not the Tekken Online Challenge, this is another one to simply jump in. I did not see that there were any region locks, but this is going to be another great event. Just, you have a higher chance of seeing the same people over and over again to get in that practice, and especially with that top 4, those are all really great names that you should be getting games in, and so check it out. Then ChiTek. So we talked about ChiTek a couple weeks ago that they stopped holding their events on Tuesday because Gameworks started opening up again, and so Puppy Swarm is helping Gameworks and running that on Tuesday. That's unchanged. But now on Fridays, what they're doing is kind of fun events in which they kind of break up the norm and just have fun. And so this time they have 3 commentators, in which each of them brought a pool of 4 players, in which then they just kind of competed against each other and all that other fun stuff. I didn't put the individual names because technically this was a team-based tournament, so we were awarding it based on the teams in which Team Kaiser won. And then not as much money was raised for this because there was no additional kind of pop bonus from Gameworks. And because of the weird format, not a lot of people will probably donate to kind of these cause. If not, there were still some really good matches, as well as some names that generally we haven't seen on online play just because they are usually offline players, but now jump to it. So if you're looking for especially kind of that Midwest talent that you haven't seen in other online tournaments, this is a great event to actually see of how they're actually competing and everything else. And yeah, so if you're looking for that offline talent, this is the event to watch again. And it sounds like every week is going to be something different. I was unclear of what it was for this upcoming Friday, but put it on your calendar and at least listen to kind of the premise that they're proposing. And hopefully we're going to see some talent we haven't seen in a while. Also on Friday, we had the Cyber Stun. This was part of the Tekken Online Challenge, in which they were able to raise over 100 bucks, 28 people, so that puts it in tier 4 related to points. But Mac was able to get some points, as well as Alpha, which we talked about, Kagari, and Donnell. Also names that we've seen earlier in the week, so they're making their online tournament rounds, and luckily this time that they're accumulating some of those points. You can catch all of that action on Toronto Top Tiers, and it looks like Toronto Top Tiers is actually holding multiple events each week. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain that level of kind of engagement, but that's really exciting that they're able to continually pull in all these players, and not only for Tekken, which we focus on, but they also have other fighting games. So if you are able to be in the East Coast region to sign up for these tournaments, you need to sign up for essentially the same reasons as we talked about before, except the prize money this time you're going to see a wider variety of players and potentially make a little bit more money rather than that league-based play. And then speaking of online offline, we talked about last week Ringside Rumble, which was an offline event as more offline events are occurring based on state and kind of health requirements and all that other fun stuff. And so this was held in Utah. It looked like, I thought the original rule said that there was an entry fee, but when I looked at the prize, it was only $40. It talked about that there were 32 people entered, but even when you watch the Twitch, they were already midway through the finals, and they didn't really document who the other 7th place finisher was. So I thought that was a little annoying to really document everything. I know that Get Good FGC, it looked like their main game was Street Fighter V, and they're adding to Tekken. So I think based on just time limitations, they kind of squeezed Tekken in just to get on screen. But we had El Negro, who was basically the only name that I knew, and everyone else seemed just to be local players. Again, we want to see more of that offline talent in these local regions to seeing how they're doing. I just hope that eventually Ringside Rumble didn't even have a smash or a challenge. Most of their information was on Match Arena directly. They just need to update it a little bit better. Another offline event, we had Black and Blue. This was in Florida, hosted by King Ray, and it was no big surprise that King Ray Jr. ended up winning the tournament. I think King Ray ended up in 9th, so you won't see him on the list, but it's worth mentioning. 21 people showed up for an offline event for regional. It's really not too bad, especially once places are opening up a little bit more. I think this is supposed to be a monthly. I could be wrong, but I'll continue looking on to see how they're setting this up. And they were able to have the $10 tournament fee, in which then they even raised a little bit more money from the match arena to go to all the players with a 50, 30, 20. And really the only name from the anonymity I've heard of, but other people may have used that name, and really only other player that I know is King Ray Jr., and he's still practicing and playing, so that's really good. So we'll see how he performs when events really fully open up again. And then we had our second city beatdown that occurred. A lot of the similar names. It still was unclear of how you enter into this tournament. It still looked kind of an invitational in which 13 people signed up, so a relatively low number, but they had 155, so they were over that $10 per entry, which is really good. And El Negro, Armaku, and Sam all had their respective showings, kind of showing that they're being very consistent, but City Beatdown needs to increase these numbers if they want to try to get to the Tekken Online Challenge, because you need to meet at least 16 players. So I don't know if they just want to keep it small and keep it kind of very niche, or if they're trying to expand. But if you're trying to expand, you need to look for ways to break that 16 mark, and hopefully get a little bit more marketing for the match arena to help support the event even just a little bit more. And then this was just a random oddball. This was like a Facebook tournament. They didn't make a Smash GG. I didn't see anything on Challenge. They did have a match arena, which originally is where I saw it. And basically all the information was on their Discord, that you had to sign up for the event, join the Discord, and all that other fun stuff. So a lot of it was kind of hush-hush, and all the reporting was through Facebook as well. So even though it said that 30 people signed up, they only reported the top 5, which the top 3 paid out. So like a lot of numbers just didn't make a lot of sense. I didn't find anything of where they streamed this, or if it was literally just all through their Discord, but they said that they had a $500, like this is a $500 secret tournament. Again, unclear if this is going to turn into a monthly or whatever. However, in the future, we're going to be looking for this a little bit more to actually market that, because $500 you got to chase that, even if it's a fixed amount. And they supposedly had a matcherino, but it didn't look like too many people actually put money toward it. This is a secret tournament that you need to go to, and of course Joey Fury found an obscure tournament. He went to it, and this was a PS4 only tournament, and Armaku also had a good showing to get at least 50 bucks out of that pot. So we need to start combing through Facebook a little bit more, because there's also been the reversal, which was a $500 pop bonus tournament that was sponsored through Facebook. So another avenue, but it also makes it more difficult for players looking for where tournaments are, which is essentially why we have this, to try to put it all in one condensed place, and then you can pick where you want to go to participate in tournaments or league-based play. The Iron Sherpa continued on. I think they took about a week off. The numbers were really low again, but it's a league-based play and we're getting closer to July. And so if you are looking to enter into that finals for the $1,000 grand finals, I talked about this in the Tekken Online Challenge of the point-based leagues, in which at the very start of a league you're going to have a lot of people, but as time goes on, the volume of entries is also going to decrease, just because players that know they're not going to make the finals are going to pull out, and people that have enough points to guarantee that they're going to be in the finals also pull out, unless they want to protect their points and all that stuff and just get practice in. So I'm not too surprised that there's a dip in numbers, and it's probably already a little too late in the league to be part of the Tekken Online Challenge. I can be wrong, but that's kind of what I see. But we have a lot of names that we're all familiar with: El Negro, Ho, Shake, Toxic Toro, Armaku, Silence, and Sam. The only one, Surge is the only one I'm not too familiar with. But you can catch all that action on Triple Victory, and I talked about it before, but Iron Sherpa works with the Seattle Tekken crew, where Silence helps a lot with that. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the league, if you don't want to join now because of points, that's fine, but I'm sure there's going to be a season 2 after season 1 finals finishes up. And then we have another Cyber Sun City. This was again a Tekken Online Challenge event that just occurred a few days ago. They met the bare minimum of 16 entries to get it, where it was able to raise $100. So just a top 2 payout, in which we had El Cid Vargas, Attack of Opportunity, and Kagari all making a top 8 showing. And because of the online challenge, just the top 4 are able to get points, because this was a tier 4 tournament. We talked about Toronto top tiers before. Just enter these tournaments. I'm actually a little shocked that the numbers are still staying this low, especially for Tekken Online Challenge. And mainly why is I'm actually making a transition, is the next tournament, which is at Fighting Gamesworks. This was the ChiTek people on Tuesday, that they were able to, oh, I did not update the entries. They actually had over 64 entries, which they were able to go from tier 3 to tier 2 to get a little bit more points into the tournament. Emily had a really great showing. She came from the losers bracket and then was winning a bunch. She was switching up the characters, switching up the tactics, and essentially Goiji just kind of gave up on the last round when he switched to Paul, and then he was out. Shadow 20Z was the one that put Emily in the losers bracket, and unfortunately he didn't make it out. And FDX, oh yeah, he was still in the money, the top 6 payout. So even Shadowmatic and Joe Crush made it. El Negro also had a good showing, so I think El Negro had a top 8 finish 4 times this week. A really great showing. I was extremely happy, and I was shocked at the increase in numbers, but I think that's all because of the Tekken Online Challenge. So with the rankings, ICFC took the top spot with their invitational. Last is the Digital Havoc and Iron Sherpa, but those are point-based leagues systems. And then we had a breakdown of highest to lowest with an average of $15 per entry. That's pretty good. We want to be over 10 at the bare minimum. We would like to see closer to 20, but c'est la vie. And the next thing that we're going to have is talking about the Tekken World Tour or the Tekken Online Challenge. I talked about now 2 videos on the channel that details the Tekken Online Challenge as well as my opinions on it. So we're just going to jump to it. The current standing list is Emily and Shadow are tied for first place, followed by Mac, and then we go out to the top 16. These names are going to change dramatically within the next few weeks, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it's looking pretty good. And remember, if you haven't signed up, if you want the points, you have to go on to the Tekken Online Challenge link and register to actually count those points. Me displaying the points here while they're count everything, they're not official, so you need to register your name. Next, we're going to be talking about upcoming events. Thursday Throwdown is coming back this Thursday, June 10th. It's a double elimination and mainly for the East Coast and Midwest folk. So if you're in that area, you can register. Generally, the numbers have been pretty consistent with this tournament, so hopefully we can see you there in the standard 60-30-10 split for the payoffs. Romanjelly Colosseum number 6 is coming back, and they got verified for the Tekken Online Challenge points, so this is going to be good. This is a tournament series that's slowly building up. I think currently it's in tier 4, but as numbers are going up, hopefully we can reach that tier 3 status for the Romanjelly. They put in $100 every single time with a split of 50-30-20. So hopefully you can join in and get some of the Tekken Online Challenge points. Next, we have the biggest tournament. So this is the one that you have to have on your calendar, which is the Evo Community Series on Saturday, June 12th. This is a PS4 only from what I've seen. It's a double elimination, and the winners of this is $400, $300, $200, and $100. So there is some good money into it rather than just splitting $500 between the top 3 or top 6. You're guaranteed $400 if you win that top spot. So that's going to be a huge positive. And even if you're not playing, you can catch all the action on twitch.tv/PlayStation since they purchased the rights. The reversal's coming back. This is the second reversal that I'm aware of. It starts at $500. I haven't seen any update of what the payoff schedule is going to be, but from what we learned about last month is that first place gets about 70% of the pot, and then we'll figure out who gets essentially the rest of those dollars. You can sign up for the tournament on the reversal online, and you can check out the action on Nerd Street FGC. Also on the same day, we have Tennessee Online. This is a Tekken Online Challenge in which this is the first of its kind that I've seen, but you can catch all the action on Scruffy City FGC as well as sign up for the event within the next week and a half. Offline events, we have the Secret Garden Offline, which is happening in about 2 weeks from now. We've talked about it extensively. This is essentially the first major that's going on ever since everything kind of shut down. So expect to see really amazing play coming up. We also have recently announced the Showdown at the end of July is happening. And what's really interesting is they're playing multiple different variations of Tekkens from what I've seen. It said more information is coming, so we'll see if they really are playing Tekken 5 as well as Tag 2. And this is an offline event held in Ann Arbor. So it should be really amazing, especially all those Michigan folk have been putting in a lot of time not only hosting, but playing and really building that local community as they're getting ready to shift from online to offline play. So this should be really exciting. So just pencil it in right now as you'll have plenty of time before it actually begins. Summer Jam has also been announced. They put in the dates in which it's going to be on August 27th, and it's going to run on that weekend. Again, more information is going to come related to Summer Jam as they just released the dates. And then as well as NEC was announced in November. It's a double elimination tournament. More information is coming out. For a long time, it just said it's going to happen in November, but we're still waiting on a little bit more details, but we have tons of time in between then. This is going to happen a little before the Tekken Online Challenge Regional that's happening in NA, so that should be really interesting. And then the last offline event that everyone I'm sure is known for is CEO. From my understanding, they filled up the doors extremely quick, in which they had like 1,500 people sign up for it in not only Tekken 7, but a variety of different fighting games. So if you are in the Orlando, Florida region, you definitely need to check this out. And even if you're not going You can check out all the action on the Twitch account. And that's all we have for today. The battery cut out, so we had to kind of recharge the batteries and come back. And of course, we had our little extra special guest. So thanks again for sticking around. We'll see you guys next week with more updates of what happened the previous week, as well as upcoming tournaments. And as always on KTF, we always ask the question, what are you fighting for? So until then, take care, guys, and we'll see you around.